Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, Bishop Brzezinski ordains Father Barrett Pease to the priesthood.
I'm Kathy Harrington. Parishioners of St. Francis of Assisi remember Father Vern Jacoto with a special Mass and a very special dedication.
And meet the most senior priest of the Diocese of Springfield. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel from Our Lady of Fatima Parish in Ludlow on this Labor Day weekend, and the last of our best of Reel to Reel summer editions. Our Lady of Fatima Parish is hosting its annual Festa celebration this weekend and opening of its new Fatima Museum, which is especially exciting as Catholics around the world have been celebrating the 100th anniversary of the miracles of Fatima this year. Today our program, which first aired on June 10th, focuses on the priesthood and those who serve the family of God. We begin as the Diocese of Springfield welcomed a new priest, Father Barrett Pease. The 29-year-old grew up in Montgomery, and his story is an inspiration to all, going from lapsed Catholic to Catholic priest. Carolyn McGrath has our story.
With great anticipation and after years of preparation, study, and prayer, Deacon Barrett Pease became the diocese's newest priest.
After mature deliberation, Barrett, our brother, is now to be ordained to the priesthood in the order of the presbyterate, so as to serve Christ, the teacher, priest, and shepherd, by whose ministry his body, that is the church, is built and grows into the people of God, a holy temple.
Springfield Bishop Mitchell Brzezinski was the principal celebrant for the special Mass at St. Michael's Cathedral called the Rite of Ordination. Surrounded by family and friends, Father Barrett expressed his fidelity to God and his church.
So I ask you, do you resolve, with the help of the Holy Spirit, to discharge without fail the office of priesthood in the presbyteral rank as a worthy fellow worker with the order of bishops in caring for the Lord's flock?
I do.
Father Barrett's vocation story is one of reversion. Like many young people, he had drifted away from his Catholic upbringing. But what unfolded during an art class when he was 15, you could say, is nothing short of a miracle.
I was a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, searching for the truth, searching for truth in general, just because I felt there was an emptiness in my life and nothing would really fill it. Friends couldn't fill it, fun activities couldn't fill it, stuff couldn't fill it.
He was also far from God, or so he thought. He says he was baptized Catholic, made his first communion, and then stopped going to church, and became angry with God after the deaths of his two grandfathers. But one day, when he was sitting in art in a public high school, God showed up.
One of my best friends was talking with a teacher's aide, and they were discussing matters of religion, matters of scripture, and what my friend was learning in confirmation class. And what was being said, I knew that was the truth, that there were answers to questions I'd been seeking for a long time.
That friend, who was no more than an acquaintance at the time, is Father Ryan Sliwa, the parochial vicar at St. Mary's in Westfield. The teacher offered Father Sliwa a Bible, but he had one.
And then I went home that day and I just opened it up randomly to the beginning of the Gospel of John, and I read, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were created through him, and without him nothing was made that was made." And that was just like, somebody turned the lights on in a room that was dark.
That one unlikely religious conversation in a public high school setting started him on a journey back to the church. But at 15, the priesthood wasn't the first thing that came to mind.
I had a choice to make, and I was like, where do I go from here? Like, do I go to the Protestant church, which is like right down the road from me, or do I go back to the Roman Catholic Church? And at that point, when I was pondering that, God made me remember my grandfather on my mother's side, who really tried to raise us as good Catholics. And when I was thinking about him, and I was thinking about how faith shaped his life, it just sort of like a whisper, like, you need to go back to confession.
He says he was reluctant and thought the priest was going to let him have it.
And what I encountered wasn't a judge. It wasn't somebody who was going to scold me for what I had done wrong. I encountered the loving father who embraces the prodigal son.
And so now, Father Barrett Pease wants to bring that love, Christ's love, shown to him by a priest in a confessional, to others.
As a priest, your life is configured to the person of Jesus Christ, but God has called you for a life of service to His church, to bring others to God, to bring others to Him, so you become a bridge.
One of 5 children, Father Pease grew up in Montgomery. He was born December 17, 1987, to David Pease and Roberta Barron in Springfield. His home parish is Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament in Westfield, where he was baptized. He graduated from Gateway Regional High School in 2006. The 29-year-old attended Holyoke Community College for 2 years before transferring to Our Lady of Providence College Seminary. He graduated in 2010 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. As a transitional deacon, Father Pease was assigned to Mary Mother of Hope Parish in Springfield while he continued his studies at St. John's Seminary in Brighton. Father Matthew Alcombright, who was ordained in 2012, is the pastor of Mary Mother of Hope.
He's totally ready. This is what he was chosen to do, and how God chose him, and it's evident in how he acts and what he does and how he prays and everything. He's 100% ready for it.
As the rite continued, Father Pease lay prostrate on the altar as a sign of total submission to God as the congregation sang the Litany of Saints.
Saint Peter and Saint Paul, Saint Andrew.
This was followed by the laying on of hands, the most solemn part of the ceremony. It's been a long journey from art class to the priesthood, but Father Barron says for anyone out there praying for someone to come back to the church, he says don't lose hope. Look up the story of St. Monica and her wayward son, who also became a saint, St. Augustine.
I'm excited to be serving the people of God as an alter Christus, as another Christ, to make present in time the paschal mystery of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to make His mercy present through the sacrament of reconciliation and the anointing of the sick.
Father Barron says he'll now spend his ministry showing people that God is always near. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
Vocation ministers from throughout the Diocese of Springfield gathered recently to discuss ways in which they help to support and promote vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Julie Bollier attended the workshop held at Our Lady of Blessed Sacrament Parish in Westfield and has this report.
Attracting our youth toward vocations is the job of every Catholic, says keynote speaker Rhonda Gruenwald, a convert to Catholicism, who now runs a dynamic parish vocation ministry at St. Cecilia Parish in Houston, Texas, and gives lectures throughout the country. She presented her book, Hundredfold, A Guide to Parish Vocation Ministry, recently at a workshop.
It's all about giving people the tools of how to promote vocations at a parish, how to pray for them, how to affirm vocations, how to affirm their priests and sisters, and also how do you get in touch with the youth.
Gruenwald, a former high school teacher, says that she was guided by the Holy Spirit into this new career. Father Gary Daly, vocations director for the diocese, says the key to increasing vocations is keeping folks aware.
And we felt that it was very important to get lay people involved in the area of vocation ministry and speaking about vocations, praying about vocations, and having various activities in the parish that would assist young people in discerning a call to vocations.
Every parish should have one of these posters displayed. Praying for vocations is one of the more important things that we all need to do as Catholics. Discernment is the process of discovery through which an individual discovers how God calls him or her to love and serve Him. Some parents of those who chose vocations attended the workshop and plan to continue in ministry.
When Mark was probably about 12, I think, he started serving at the Dominican monastery in West Springfield. So the nuns, I think, just kind of took over. He had a lot of nuns praying for him, and that's the order he entered.
Solitario also had a discernment to become a permanent deacon and was ordained the end of May. Beverly Gentile says her son changed careers to become a priest.
He was ordained a priest at 40 years old. So around 34, he made the decision to go into the seminary.
Father Robert Gentile Jr. is pastor at Blessed Sacrament Parish in Holyoke. Each person who attended the workshop left with a copy of the Hundredfold Book and some great new ideas.
The goal is to energize them to go back to their parishes, to find other people to help them in their mission to build this culture of vocations. And so they're going to be looking for other people to join them in the work and get their pastor involved. And you know, you have a great thing happening here in Springfield, and just the fact that all the people here have been appointed by their pastor. Across the nation, only 10 to 20% of parishes do anything at all to promote vocations.
The Diocese of Springfield has a special chapel where people can pray for vocations 24/7, located at Christ the King Parish in Ludlow. I'm Julie Beaulieu reporting for Real to Real.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio,
just finished this today,
and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
In the wake of Hurricane Harvey, Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky is asking for prayers and help in relief efforts for the Texas and Louisiana Gulf Coast region. In a statement this week, the bishop said, "The Catholic community of Western Massachusetts has always responded to these tragic situations with great generosity, and I hope we can be counted on once again." To donate to Hurricane Harvey relief efforts, we have a link to Catholic Charities USA on our website at iobserve.org. Or you can also donate through any area Catholic parish or at our diocesan offices. Checks can be made out to Catholic Charities USA with Hurricane Harvey in the memo line. You can send your donation to the Diocese of Springfield, Box 1730, Springfield, Massachusetts 01102-1730. And again, all of this information is available on our website at iobserve.org. The unexpected death of Father Vernon Dakota last June left his Belchertown parish in mourning. Well known across the diocese for his love of music, Father Vern was a driving force behind the reorganized Singing Priests. Recently, the St. Francis of Assisi community gathered to remember Father Vern and to dedicate a memorial that will remain for generations. Following the lyrics of one of his favorite hymns, parishioners will now lift up their voices to accompany the new organ dedicated to their former and beloved pastor. Kathy Harrington reports.
The St. Francis of Assisi Choir began the anniversary Mass with Father Vern Dakota's musical choice, Holy, Holy, Holy. About 150 people gathered for the Thursday evening Mass on the first anniversary of his death. The Mass of Remembrance was the perfect time to dedicate the new church organ to their former pastor. Before Mass, organists took turns providing a musical prelude in honor of Father Vern. Installed in time to debut at the Easter Vigil, the new organ project actually began nearly 2 years ago.
We wanted to renovate the old organ because we only had a piano here, or a keyboard. So I went to Father Vern in September of 2015 with the idea that the Knights of Columbus would pay to renovate and repair the old organ system and then have it brought over here to the new church. And he decided, no, new church, new organ. Will you run with it? Will you be the shepherd of the project?
A committee spent time searching for the right instrument for the new church.
We all came together. We went through many, many months of going to churches and listening to systems through different vendors until the committee decided to present it to Father Jack, this system.
We present this organ for your blessing. Grant that its music may lead us to express our prayer and praise in melodies that are pleasing to you.
To help cover the cost, the Singing Priests donated the proceeds from their December concert in Father Vern's memory. Father Matthew Alcombright worked with Father Vern to bring the Singing Priests of the diocese back together. The December concert was difficult without Father Vern.
It's hard. He was the showman. He knew how to put on the show, and so and we knew how to show up and partake in the show. So it was really difficult. It was really difficult for us in that sense to coordinate it and stuff without his vision. But also it was hard to do it without him. Without him being there.
Michael Carney was one of the organists who played for this dedication and anniversary Mass. He says as long as he can remember, music has been a strong ministry at St. Francis of Assisi.
Today was my second time playing on the organ. I had the honor of being on the organ committee, so I helped to choose what organ we actually got.
For this night, Carney said each organist selected the music they would play.
The one I played, Abide With Me, made me think of him though.
We had a very nice music ministry to start with as I was growing up, and when Father Vern came here, it just seemed to take on its own life, and it was just amazing how everything just took off. Everybody was just so enthused and so energetic, and he just brought a whole nother life into the ministry.
Lifelong parishioner Donna Grady serves as choir director. She says choosing the music for this Mass was special.
The last song, City of God, was one of his favorites. So while the sopranos and the tenors went off on the descant, we were remembering him because that was his part.
Donna says to dedicate the organ to Father Vern is perfect. He wanted a new organ for the new church, and tonight parishioners gave him a lasting honor. For Real to Real, I'm Kathy Harrington.
Father Dakota's reach was wide. He once made headlines after meeting and performing for former President George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush while vacationing in Maine. The former president later made donations to the construction of the Belchertown Church. All great memories of a wonderful priest. And now another vocation story. This young man is one of 14 children and raised in the faith, a parishioner of Our Lady of Czestochowa Parish in Turners Falls. But as many children do, he rebelled. He says the tears and prayers of his mother brought him back to church, where he is another newly ordained Catholic priest. Carolee McGrath returns now and introduces us to Father Luke DeMasi.
Friends and family gathered at Our Lady of Czestochowa Church in Turners Falls for a morning weekday Mass. Many would agree the day was a miracle in the making for the DeMasi family, who witnessed one of their own, Father Luke, celebrate his first Mass as a newly ordained priest.
So once I found out that this is for real, that this isn't just like a decoration, that, we don't just like come up here and dress like this. Like, by the way, I put this on backwards.
In his first homily at the parish he grew up in, Father Luke kept the congregation laughing and crying, talking about how he was by all means the prodigal son who got caught up in the ways of the world. And he also talked about how he went from the party scene to the priesthood.
I say it because there's a lot of mothers that get discouraged for a lot of right reasons, because their kids are disasters. And they get discouraged and they say, like, we've done everything we could to give him what he needs, we've said everything, but he just doesn't listen. Or he's going off the wrong path, he's going like from bad to worse. But your tears give fruit, because I'm fruit of my mother's tears.
The former altar boy at the parish was ordained April 29th at the Cathedral of Alcalá in Spain. He is a priest of the Servants of the Home of the Mother, which was founded in 1990 under the papacy of St. John Paul II. He grew up in Munsonville, New Hampshire. His parents used to drive him and his siblings more than an hour every Sunday to Mass. He later attended Ave Maria University in Southwest Florida. Were you a good kid?
No, not really. I just kind of like got into everything that, usually young adolescents get into. Just, the whole party scene, and like at that age, younger age, like 12, 13 years old, like friends are everything. So for me, like kind of to fit in, I had to kind of get into what everybody else was getting into.
He says when he was in college, the drinking and partying took its toll, and he hit rock bottom. And one day, his mother came to visit.
I just said, let's have coffee. And we went for a cup of coffee, and he's breaking my heart. Oh, my Lord, break my heart. Anyway, so we're having a cup of coffee, and I said, how are you? And I think that for him, that was sort of a moment, because he knows he can't lie to me. He knows he's not good, but he just kind of goes on silent, like that. But he left that, we said goodbye, and he went from there to a church.
Father Charles D. Mascola, now retired, was the pastor of the parish when Father Luke was an altar boy. To put it lightly, Father Charles wasn't expecting Father Luke to become a priest.
Were you surprised that this day came?
Yes. I'll tell you, today is really a sign of God's working, because I didn't trust Luke. He was a juvenile delinquent. He was surly. He was negative. He was unpleasant. But suddenly, he was standing straight. He was handsome. He was pleasant. He was bright. He was a different person. And I thought, I've just witnessed a miracle of conversion, a real miracle of conversion. I mean, you hear people talk about that, but this was something that I could physically see.
Father Luke is one of 14 children, which is not unusual at Our Lady of Czestochowa Parish. It's a very pro-life community, and they have big families. Most couples have between 5 and 7 children.
He will strengthen you with his power, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Many of Father Luke's siblings were sitting right in the front row, and he was able to baptize his niece after Mass, which was a great blessing for all of them. He's now back in Spain, where the 31-year-old is beginning his ministry working with the youth. He encourages families to pray the rosary together, and he encourages parents to keep bringing their children to Mass, even if it seems they're straying.
So Father Charles called you a miracle.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, when he saw me, when he first heard that I was going to become a priest, he didn't believe it. He thought probably I was like I was kind of a little bit of a con artist, maybe, so maybe it's just like some way of getting... A lot of people didn't believe it. I myself couldn't believe it. But that's the way it works. I mean, he calls and he does. He'll hit you. But I did have to turn to him, so like... But he does that with everybody, and he wants to, and he's dying to. Like, it's not... I mean, I don't have to be an exception as far as... Because he's at everybody's heart, he's waiting to get in and just like explode. We just have to kind of give him a little bit of space, let him in.
And he says Jesus will take it from there. Reporting for Reel to Reel in Turner's Falls, I'm Carolee McGrath.
And Carolee says that the 31-year-old priest will head back to Spain, where he will begin his ministry working with the youth. The priests and brothers of the Servants of the Home of the Mother have a total of 5 communities in Spain, Italy, and Ecuador. We began our program today featuring the newest addition to the priesthood in the Diocese of Springfield, Father Barrett Pease. Well, it was just a few years ago that Father Vincent O'Connor stood in the same spot here at St. Michael's Cathedral, professing vows during his 1948 ordination. I sat down with Father O'Connor, who is now retired from active ministry, to learn more about his call to this life of service to the people of God.
Well, I always wanted to be a priest since I was a kid.
Meet Father Vincent O'Connor. At 94 and a half, he is the most senior priest in the Diocese of Springfield. And as he says, it's a job that he's always wanted to have, ever since he was a youngster, growing up in Springfield's Holy Name Parish, where he attended the grammar school and later Cathedral High School. Father O'Connor, retired from active ministry, now resides at Monastery Heights, a senior living facility at the former Passionist Monastery in West Springfield, which, by the way, is the place where he began exploring his vocation in the early 1940s while attending a high school retreat.
And I remember meeting a Father Joe Patrick. And in the very beginning, we talked about the vocation of the priesthood, And he told me, well, I don't think you're qualified for that. So I was disappointed.
But Father O'Connor says he didn't lose faith. Instead, he entered St. Anselm's College in New Hampshire, and from there, then Bishop O'Leary sent him to study for the priesthood at the Seminary of Philosophy and the Grand Seminary in Montreal.
He sent every aspirant to the priesthood up to Canada, to the Grand Seminaire. And when we went through the first day, we got there, everything was in French. And if you didn't understand that, all the classes were in Latin.
Along with learning 2 foreign languages, Father O'Connor said he developed a strong devotion to the Eucharist.
I remember one time in the seminary, we had the midnight mass and I was the deacon. And it came time for communion. And the pastor, the superior, told me to help him out giving communion. Of course, in those days, the deacon really didn't function in that capacity. So I asked him in French, did I hear him right? And I felt so thrilled that I was to be able to give communion, you know, because that was such a special honor. It was the greatest Christmas gift you could get. And we never went home at Christmas. We had to stay there.
Because of World War II, Father O'Connor's class in the seminary would all come together for an ordination in the middle of the winter.
So then I was ordained on January 24th, 1948.
They were ordained by Bishop O'Leary, and his first assignment was to serve at St. Mary's Parish in Northampton for 3.5 years.
So there was quite a few priests, quite a few men ordained to the priesthood at that time.
Father O'Connor thought he would always be a parish priest, but he says Bishop Christopher J. Weldon sent him to Washington, D.C. to the Catholic University to study social work. When he returned, he established the Catholic Charities Office and the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. He also taught social work at Elms College in Chicopee, serving as department head for 17 years, where he established the first bachelor's degree in social work available in the United States. Along with these accomplishments, he worked in the Chancery Office of the diocese, using his expertise to help place children for adoption through Brightside. In 1969, Father O'Connor was appointed pastor of St. Catherine's Parish in Leeds, a position he would hold for 33 years until his retirement in 2002. Father O'Connor says he has seen much change in the church and in the world through all of these decades of ministry. And as the Diocese of Springfield welcomes its newest priest this month, he says there is a great need for priests to meet the people where they are.
We need Christ. We need him. We need him more than ever. And I think he's knocking at the door and wants to come in. And I think he's in the marketplace. And I think we gotta get down there.
Quietly, Father O'Connor sits with the Eucharist in his little corner of the world, praying, grateful for his 69 years of the priesthood.
We're so privileged to have God with us and, you know, existing with us. That's such a magnificent thing. Magnificent.
We certainly are grateful for Father O'Connor's dedication to the Diocese of Springfield for all of these decades. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks so much for watching, and if you are in the area this weekend, tomorrow here at Our Lady of Fatima, Festa 2017 will continue with an 11 a.m. Mass in Portuguese, the Fatima Museum grand opening at 1 p.m., and a special candlelight procession and Mass at 6:30 p.m., celebrated by Boston Cardinal Sean O'Malley. And also on Monday, from 12 to 9 p.m., the pavilion will be open with rides, food, and entertainment. It's a great place to spend part of your Labor Day weekend, so come on down. And for coverage of Cardinal O'Malley's visit, plus more news and updates on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, head over to our news and information site, iobserve.org. Also, you will be able to friend us there on Facebook, where you will be able to travel with our reporters as they work on stories for Reel to Reel and get the latest news on the Catholic Church. Like us at Catholic Communications. I will be back here at this same time next week for the launch of our 33rd season of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.